there in mandolin land? Mike Heading here. I've just got a short little bluegrass mandolin lesson for you today. We're going to be talking about playing the basic C major scale. So the key of C is a great key for bluegrass and folk music. A lot of songs are done in the key of C. And we're just going to work on, to start, getting the basic C major scale down in 2 octaves. And then talking about some of the chord tones, arpeggios, how to slide between the positions, just kind of some basics to get you started in the key of C. This is really just going to be an intro lesson. You know, dip your toe in the water, get used to playing in the key of C, and then you'll be more comfortable when you encounter some songs that are in the key of C. All right, let's start breaking down the lesson. Here's the C major scale for mandolin. All right, let's start breaking down this short little mini lesson talking about the C major scale. So again, let's just start by strumming our 2-finger C chord. That can help you get the sound of the key that we're playing in. So I've got my first finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, and my 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. Low string and high string are open. That's an easy 2-finger C chord. And if you want to do more of a bluegrass chop chord, you can add your 3rd finger down on the 5th fret of the lowest string. Okay, so I'd maybe just strum that a few times to kind of get the sound of the key of C in your head. And then let's start breaking down the basic C major scale. So we're going to take our 3rd finger down on that 5th fret of the G string, right where you were in that chop chord. That's going to be our first note. That's our C, our root note. Then we're going to play the open D string, or you could play the 7th fret on the G string. It's going to be the same note. So you got 5 on the G string. Open D, 2nd fret on the D string with your 1st finger, 3rd fret on the D with your 2nd finger, and then 5th fret on the D string with your 3rd finger. Let's even just start with those first 5 notes and then walk back down. Keeping my right hand really simple to start, I'm just doing down strokes, but you could do down and up. Tremolo. You know, I'm a big believer in separating the 2 hands though. So if you're working on a new scale with your left hand, keep your right hand really simple. Once you got the left hand notes down, you can make your right hand more advanced. So let's just stick with the down strokes for now. So let's go up the rest of the notes. So let's do those notes again. We have and then we're going to keep going up onto the A string, open A string, or 7th fret. Same thing, 7th fret's where your open string is the same note on the lower string. 2nd fret on the A, and then 3rd fret on the A string is your C. So you've got C to C. That'd be 1 octave. Let's go back down. Let's do that a few times. Let's just go up and down. A couple things I'd focus on to start. This is good practice on connecting the notes. So keep your fingers down on your left hand as long as possible. Especially like right here. See how I'm leaving these ones down behind? I'm not lifting these ones up. Keep those down. Those are like your insurance policy. A lot of times I'm going to be going right back to those notes too. So if I keep them down, rather than doing that, look how much more work that is than if I just keep this finger down. So I'm always trying to keep these ones down behind it as long as I can. If you have to move them, you have to move them. But again, that can really help smooth everything out. It gives it a kind of a less robotic sound too. If I take all the notes off, you know, I'm kind of cutting off the notes, where if I keep them down, and you're not always going to want to let those notes ring out as long as possible, but it's a really good habit to get into to be able to do it. You can always cut off the notes if you need to, but practice keeping them down. It'll also help keep your hand in position, you know, so I'm not making these unnecessary movements kind of getting out of position. I'm basically using these as kind of my anchor fingers to keep me positioned as well, so that's really good practice. So let's go up and down that scale one more time. Let's do down and up picking this time. So I'll just do 4 down up picks on each one. if you hit a wrong string or something, it's not the end of the world. You're just practicing. This is just a good warm-up exercise. Okay, so let's practice moving that scale up another octave, and then I'll show you a bunch of ways we can mess with this. So let's go up and down one more time. So we have. And then right here, instead of using our second finger, which we could do when we're playing it the scale down here, let's shift up. So we're going to shift our first finger up to the 3rd fret. You know, so you just adjust your hand, and that's going to be our new home base. So now our first finger is taking over that C note on the 3rd fret of the A string, and we'll start our scale this time using no open strings. Then we'll use our second finger on the 5th fret of the A string, 3rd finger 7th fret, pinky 8th fret way up there. Keep your fingers down if you can, and then do those same notes on the E string, 3, 5, 7th fret, and then 8. So you got octaves there. Let's practice going down those notes. Let's go up and down again. Right here, let's shift back down. Okay, so now we got 2 octaves. So let me show you one other way you could make that shift. If I wanted to stay down here, I could play this note, 3, 5, open, E string, 1st fret on the E string, and then 3rd fret, and I could shift right here. So there's a couple ways you can make that shift once you get it down. I could also do it right there. So there's a bunch of ways you can make that shift. Remember, the open E string is the 7th fret, so you can walk up here, or you could do, you know, the more ways you can shift, the better. You could even do it this way. You could also practice changing the notes with down and up picks. So instead of doing 4 on each one, you know, like that, you could go. Okay, so what's the value of knowing it without the open string? So that's very valuable, because once I get that shape down, I could actually move that around. My first finger is my root note, so wherever I move that scale, I can do that same position, and it's a different scale, whatever note that first finger is on. So that's really valuable. If I come up with a cool lick, I can play that whatever key I'm in. So converting your open string licks to closed position licks can be really valuable. Okay, so that's the scale in closed position. Remember, try and keep your fingers down. That's good stretching practice. You can do tremolo. Okay, so first thing I do, again, when you're learning a new scale, keep your right hand really simple. Go straight up and down the scale. But probably you'll realize pretty quick when you start playing more advanced songs, very rarely with scales are we just going to go straight up and down. You know, more common will be mixing the notes up in a different order. So you could do something like, just practicing mixing those notes up in a different order. I'm not playing anything particular there. Just practice moving around to different notes, jumping around. Practice, you know, little licks and stuff. Remember, you're just getting comfortable with these scales. And just seeing how well you know the positions. If you can only go straight up and down, you know, it's going to be hard to draw on those positions when you need to come up with a song. So practice jumping around, even if it's weird intervals. You're really just practicing how well you know those notes. So I would take those notes and mix them up wherever you want. Or you can slide into the notes. That could sound cool, or hammer on. Just when you're first starting out, you just want to get comfortable moving around the notes. A couple more notes you can use. That's our low C note, but we could also have 3 more notes we could play on the low string. Open G string, 2nd fret, and 4th fret. So that just gives you a few lower notes as well. So you could try figuring out a basic melody, something like Will the Circle Be Unbroken or something, you know. Something like that, or try playing it up an octave. I'm just practicing getting familiar with these positions. You know, take a simple melody, you know, or just noodle around with the notes and try and come up with something. The other thing you can do is play what's called the arpeggios, or the chord tones. So that's the notes that make up the chord. So in the key of C, it's every other note of the scale. So we have 5th fret, then we got 2nd fret on the D string, 5th fret on the D string, and then 3rd fret on the A. Might have heard something like that. They do that a lot in classical music, something like, you know, something like that. But it's also really good picking and left-hand practice. But the other thing that's really important about knowing the chord tones is that's really normally where your melodies are going to start. So normally kind of bluegrass and folk melodies are a combination of chord tones and then little connecting notes, so using the other notes in the scale to connect the phrases. So you could, you know, again, you can start down here. That could be like a kickoff to a song, or you can go up to the next one. Or start on the high one. So you basically have 3 potential starting notes. And again, if you think about it that way, you have a fairly good chance of jumping on the melody, a 33% chance, not too bad, of just picking the first note of the melody out, even if you just randomly pick one of those chord tones. So that's really good practice. It also will make your scale, licks, and ideas sound more coherent if you kind of highlight the chord tones. And then again, use connecting notes, the passing notes in the scale, to connect the chord tones together. So maybe I start up here, and then I walk down, and then I do a little lick. And then I'll always end on a C. That'll make your lick sound coherent as well. You know, because you can do the fanciest lick in the world, and if you don't end on the right note, it's not going to sound quite right. So that's how you do the arpeggios down here. If you want to do it up here, switch your first finger up to the 3rd fret of the A string, and then 7th fret, 3, 8. So you have. So again, I might start something like. I'm just kind of noodling here too, but you know, I'm just start on one of the chord tones. And then connect it with passing tones. practice shifting back down as well. That'd be good practice. You could use the open A string as well. Something like that. Alright, last thing you might want to do is try transitioning up to this high C bluegrass chop chord shape, which Bill Monroe used a lot. It's basically your G, big G chop chord, up a bunch of frets. So I think of it out of my 2-finger G chord. So I've got 2 and 3, 2nd fret and 3rd fret. If I shift that up to 7 and 8, then I put my 3rd finger on the 10th fret of the D string, pinky down on the 12th fret of the lowest string. That's like a high C chop chord. And that's a good one to practice shifting into, especially if you're playing bluegrass. Bill Monroe would use that chop shape a lot. It's up the neck, which gets it out of the way of the other instruments. I use this one too, but this is kind of lower. It gets in the way a little bit more sonically, where this one really can cut through. But it's good to know how to get from this shape down to your scale and vice versa. So one thing you can do is if you practice doing what's called a double stop, so playing 2 notes at the same time. So if I play my scale down here, and I land on this 3rd or 5th fret with my 3rd finger, I can put my 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the A string and play those 2 notes at the same time. That's called a double stop. And if I shift my 3rd finger up from 5 to, what is that, 10, and then I let my 1st finger take over on 7, now I'm in that shape. So you can practice doing this little move. You basically slide back down with your 3rd finger and then let your 2nd finger take over. So maybe I'm down here, and then I can slide up. That's a good practice of shifting and getting into that shape. You can also do it up here. If I got my 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the A string, 1st finger up on the 3rd fret of the high E, now I shift my 3rd finger up to 10, and then I let my 2nd finger take over. So it works both ways. You can also go back down. So that's good practice. That's good shifting practice to practice doing that, okay? So that'd be the last thing I would try. And then other things, I would just try making up some licks, use some open strings. You know, just end on your C, start on one of the chord tones and play a little lick and see what happens. All right, hopefully that helps you out getting started playing in the key of C. All right, good luck.